This
Maxim,
conference will now be recorded.
Maxim, it's all you.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we have Rose, we have David, and we have Molly, I think, too. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here
All
just
right.
listening in.
Hi, Molly. All right. So early enough for you, 6 o'clock. All right. So let's talk about Infinity. So let me just open up my agenda so I have it in front of me as well. I think you guys have that too. So the first thing on the agenda, we're going to talk briefly about some of Infinity navigation stuff. And I think you probably know some of this already, and perhaps Molly went through with you, but I'll briefly go through this just so we all on the same page. So what you're looking right now on the screen, this is basically your Infinity interface. And the way you're going to be logging in is you are going to be logging into the browser. And I think from what I know, the browser of choice here is Google Chrome. You would open up Google Chrome browser and you would typically log in with your cloud username and password. So everyone in your company right now has a cloud username and password. You would then click on the icon, and well, in my case, it opens up a desktop. In your case, it'll go straight into Infinity interface. And once you open up Infinity interface, you are going to be presented with this basically box here that's going to have three different companies to log into. So you're going to have a production, test, and training. And in Infinity or Blue Cherry language, we call this data sets or environments. So you're gonna hear these words interchangeably as you work with CGS people, and they're going to be asking you questions like, what environment are you in? What data set are you in? And you're going to tell them, I'm in production, I'm in test, I'm in training, because, if you're going to have problems, if you need help, if you need support, people need to know where exactly that problem happens. So you have to be as descriptive as possible and tell them, hey, I'm working in test and this is what's happening in test right now. Okay. All right. So once now let's talk about, you have a second username and password. So first we had a cloud username password to log in, then we have a Blue Cherry username and password. So you're going to have two sets of username and passwords. So I'm using here to log in CGS admin. You're going to have your own. So I put in my password and I click login. And as you can see, I'm logging into test right now. So it takes a couple of seconds here. Blue Cherry is starting the application. There you go. So you are now looking at something that's called Command Center, and basically Command Center, what it is, it's your personal desktop. Let's talk about what you see here on the screen first. I want you to pay attention to this bar on top in green, where it says, it's basically what we call a title bar. And on the title bar, it's basically, there's a welcome message talking about what user logged in into the system. So in my case, it says CGS Administrator. It talks about your company, Josie Accessories Alreen. And then it also tells you about what environment you're in right now. So it tells me you're right now in Alreen Home Fashion Test. Now notice the color of this bar is green. Depending on what environment you're in, this color
for this
can.
one, you're not on it now. You're next. Sorry about that, Maxim. Hold on.
No worries. Can I continue or?
Good to go. Go ahead.
Okay. So notice the color of the bar, and for test, it's green. If you're so that's it helps you to remember. I mean, you don't have to remember, but it helps you to know, because at times you're going to be in one data set testing something out, and you might forget about it, and you think you're in production, or vice versa. So it's kind of helpful to remember what bar you're looking at. So for test, it's always green. If you look at your training, it's purple, and if you look at your production, it's actually blue. And same goes for themes. And when I say themes, we're talking about the color of desktop itself, the command center. In production, the theme is blue, in training, well, I guess it's grayish, and in here in test, this is olive color. And that's all set up through Infinity options, and I could talk about it a little bit later, but let's move on. So we talked about the title bar now. In Command Center, which is basically your personal desktop, you have this windows I'm looking at right now. One of them says Document Inbox, Favorites, Communicator, History, My Reports, and Applications. We call this Windows panels, and these panels are actually customizable, and they present different options for you to see, and you can customize them as much as you want. And the way to do this is on Infinity, on the title bar, this Infinity sign in the left-hand top corner that you could click on. Once you click on it, you could click on Options. And in Options, you are presented with there's different choices here. So I'll talk briefly about each and every choice here. Well, language here, it's self-explanatory. You could basically change your language into English or Spanish. I actually don't know what CGS language means here. This is, I think, new, but I could find out more. There's also, so once you pick a language, you know, for example, if you were to choose Spanish, you could apply it. And all these changes are pretty instant, so they'll happen right away. There's also another button to remember. It's something that's called refresh language. So that typically is used if you rename any kind of screen captions or what we call BRO, report BROs and things like that. You know, and I will talk about it slightly later when we talk about customizations. But in Infinity, basically almost everything can be renamed to whatever your business needs, and you could call things differently. And once you do this, in order for it to take effect on your inquiries, on your filters, on your reports, you would come here into language. You would click refresh language, and then this will update across Blue Cherry. All right, now on the login option here, you could. This is where you could change your own password. So as I mentioned earlier, everybody is going to have their own Blue Cherry password. Right in here, you could go in, put in your old password, your new password, and you could reset it for you. There's another option here, by the way, David, and this is something we could talk about it later because this is new for Infinity 9. And I haven't personally tested this yet, but I know some of my colleagues, they've already worked with this in the past because this is not the first 9 implementation that we're doing. It's called single sign-on. And as you can see here, it says automatically log in using Windows username. And the way I understand it works is it's using your cloud name, and you can connect your cloud name to your Blue Cherry name. And what happens is basically once you log in into the cloud, you don't need to put in the Blue Cherry password and username anymore. It'll take you into Blue Cherry immediately as soon as you choose the environment. But we'll talk about it later. We'll explore this option. I think it might be beneficial to you. So we talk about themes now. As I said, every environment you could customize this by choosing a theme. In this case, in the test environment, I set a theme called Olive. There are 4 different theme options: Infinity, Modern, Lightweight. Again, we encourage you to play with this and just take a look at it and see how this works and whatever you like better. History is also pretty self-explanatory. Basically, how many days you want to retain your history of Infinity use for, and history is on the left side. There is a panel called History, and basically it remembers what you did today. You know, like in my case, it says today I went into color reference standard, yesterday, last week, and so forth. So this is how you, how many days you want to keep that history for. So 5 is a default value, and we typically don't recommend more than that. But again, if you decide you need to keep longer history, you're always welcome to choose this to a larger number of days. Printing is where you set up the default printer and a label printer. Some of you are going to be printing reports. Some of you are going to be printing documents like pick tickets or order acknowledgement forms or production order forms. So you might want to default your printer. Some of you are going to be printing labels, use the C128 labels or packing labels. So you might want to default your label printer, and that might be used for warehouse if they're going to be using a lot of labels. Command center customizations. This is, as I said, where you could customize your command center windows. In this, just if I move this away, you'll see there are 6 windows right now on my screen. The system allows you for up to 9 windows. So everything that's chosen is right here. Everything that's not chosen but available to be chosen, I could drag and drop. So in my case, I'm dragging and dropping this extra windows. And if I click Apply Settings and I click Close, as you can see right now, there are 9 here. And like I said, as you notice, everything is pretty instant in Infinity. So I'm going to go back to Options, Command Center. It looks very busy, so I typically prefer 6 and not 9. So I'll move this away. Okay. All right. Media centers, where you could basically put a logo for your company. And then miscellaneous are the different options here about or the close menu, sticky notes, hiding ribbon, and hiding filters. I think we might come back to this later because I'm not exactly sure if you guys know what these things are: filters, sticky notes, ribbons, and things like that. So I'll leave this for later when you have a better understanding how Infinity works and what those things will actually mean and represent to you. So let me close out of this. Let's talk about now side panel. So we talk about this main panels on your command window. Oh, by the way, just briefly stop here. In Infinity, everything kind of works like modern browsers do. Everything has tabs. Everything is a tabbed interface. If you notice, my command center right now is also a tab, and it has a little X here. I could actually click on the X, and I can close this. As you can see, the command center disappears. And I've had this before. Sometimes people click away from this and they say, "Oh, how do I get back to it?" So to get back to it is very easy. All you could do, there's in the left-hand bottom corner, there's a small little house icon here. If you click on it, you're going to get back into command center. Or you could press. There's a hotkey for this. It's F12. If you hit F12 on your keyboard, you could also get that. Let's talk about now the side panel. So the side panel here, it's typically hidden. If I click on the arrow, it'll open. If I click back, it'll close. Side panel is a pretty powerful Infinity tool where you have different options presented here at the bottom. You have a search option, and I'll talk about search slightly. You have your history as well, which is basically representative of what you see in this window that says history. You have your help options, and I'll talk about help a little bit later because that's important for you to learn how logs work in Infinity. You do have your Blue Cherry Infinity menus. Some of you are going to have access to different menus here. That's when we start setting up security. As of right now, as CGS admin, I have access to every single menu in Infinity. As you could see, there's quite a number of different options. All of them open up. There's different modules, and depending on what work you're doing, you have an AR module, allocation, base management, and so forth, so forth, so forth. So it's actually it's very complex. It's very I want to say there's so many options. I don't think there's one person, even in our company, that remembers and knows all of them. But once you train, typically every user will remember a number of limited options that's available specifically to that user, depending on the department, production, sales, logistics, warehouse, and so forth. And they will have a number of options they're going to familiarize themselves with and learn them very well. And then you have your favorites, and favorites is pretty much again same thing as the favorites panel here in Command Center. And favorites, we would typically recommend to put everything that they use very often, just like your favorites in the browser. So it'll be helpful for you to jump right into action as soon as you start working. So let's talk about search quickly here. By the way, there's a hotkey for search. If you press F9, it'll jump right into search. So you don't need to hit arrow F9, and you're right there. Now, what exactly is search here? I want to make sure you understand the difference, because in Infinity, there are two ways to search things. One is called search, and the second one is called filter. So, and there's a distinction between the two. So when you do search, you actually are searching for different modules, for example, style master module, or order maintenance, or production order, or you could be searching for inquiries, or you could be searching for reports, or you could be searching for processes. Now, when you filter, this is when you search for individual data. So this search here is not searching for any kind of data. It's searching for screens, filters, inquiries, processes, and so forth. So in my case, I could start typing something. For example, style master. As you could see, as I start typing, there's different options appear in the screen. If I type style, I put space, I start typing M. So I'm basically limited to everything that has style M in the search substring. And in my case, it's only 5 choices, so I could pick the choice that I need. So that's how search works. Once you click on it, it'll open up. Just like I said, it'll open up as a second tab. As I said before, Infinity is a tabbed interface, and you can open up as many tabs as you want. For example, I could open up another style master. I could open up a third one if I want to, or I could open up a different screen. For example, open order maintenance, and as you could see, I could switch from one tab to another tab to a fourth tab and so forth. Now, there's a couple of things you could do with this tabs. First of all, right now, these tabs, they're all docked. So I could undock these tabs by right-clicking the tab. And when you right-click the tab, you have this context menu, and I could say this tab is dockable. And as you could see what happens once I do this with the Style Master, I have a separate screen now. So I could move this around. I could make it smaller if I want to, and, you could put, okay, my mouse is not working. There you go. You could take a second Style Master, for example, and do the same thing. And then you could put them side by side. So when you do work, for example, a typical application would be, for example, if you enter the production order with particular styles, colors, particular quantities, and then you want to create a sales order that matches this, then you could, open one, open another one right next to it, and you could be looking stuff up as you enter this. If you want to, put it back into your Infinity tab, you just right-click the top part of the window, you choose Tab Document instead of Dockable, and it'll go right back. Okay. To click this, to close the screens, you click on the X button, or if you want to close screens that belong to a group, for example, Style Master. If you have multiple Style Masters open, I could just say close all like this, and then every single Style Master will close in Infinity. Let me just open a few more. Give me just 1 second. Style Master. Depending on your job function, you might find yourself having opened many of these tabs, and at some point you could find out that the number of tabs exceeded what screen could actually fit, and they're going to become invisible to you. So we have this arrow on the right top where that basically says active files. If you click on it, it shows you every single thing that's right now open in Infinity interface. So in my case, there's only 3: Command Center, Open Order, and Style Master. So I'm right now, my active tab is Open Order. If I click here, I could choose Style Master, and as you could see now, the Style Master is an active tab, and I could continue working. So sometimes this drop down helps you locate stuff. When it's 3, obviously it's easy to navigate, but you could easily get to 15, 20, and so forth. And then obviously the list is going to be much bigger, but it's sorted alphabetically, so it's easy to find where you are. Okay, so that's on tabs. Let's see. So let's talk about filtering now. Let's go back to the Style Master, for example. And here's actually how. So let me just close this Open Order. So I have my Style Master. Right now, you don't see any records at all. So if I click, so once I open up my window, right, I'm presented with the filter on the left side and the records that I found on the right side. So right now I haven't done any record search, and my filter is empty. Nothing is filled in. So if I click on Apply, right, the system will find me every single record that right now exists in Infinity. In my case, there's only 3, but as you guys put your data in, obviously you're going to probably have thousands and thousands of them. So at that point, retrieving thousands of records obviously is not something you probably want. So we could go back by clicking Show Filter here on the ribbon, and the filter is back to us, and we could search for stuff that is meaningful, that has meaning to us. For example, I want to find stuff that belongs to a particular season. And let's see, if I right click on season, I have all the seasons presented to me. So let me just try to pick a season, spring 2019. And if I do that, and if I click Apply, there you go. Only one record is found. When you have only one record found, it'll go straight into the record for you. Like it won't show you. It won't show you the way it is. But if you click Filter Back, it'll basically show you this is only one record was found. If I choose season to something else, for example, all season, and if I click Apply, it found 2 records for me. And then by double clicking that particular record, you could go straight into the record and you could see what that record represents. If I click Show Filter, obviously I'm back in the filter and I could start searching for more stuff. Filter also has different tabs on it, for example. So almost every single record in Blue Cherry exists and is made up of a header level and a detail level data. And I'll talk about that later. But in this case, so you could look for stuff in the header level, and you could look for stuff on the detail level. For example, I just want to find everything that has color black inside. I click Apply, and I found 2 records that has a color black inside. So if I double click this particular style, as you could see, there's color black in here. So let me go back to Show Filter. Now, every filter can be customized. As you could see, there are a ton of options here. So you have, prices, actives, catalog destinations, component types, all these numbers that may or may not have any kind of meaning to you. So you could customize these things using the filter builder. And this is what this template button does. As you could see right now, there are two filter templates here. One is standard. If I click on it, it has many options. As you could see, there's a ton of options. And if you click on Style Master Reference, you have less. And you could build your specific ones using a filter builder. And the way to do this, you could either right from the templates, you could go into filter builder. And right now there's only one, Style Master Reference. If I click on it, basically, as you could see, everything that's chosen on the filter builder, like A-level price, active OK, it's going to be presented on my filter. So what I can do, for example, let's say it's important for you to know, who's, let's see what we have. Merge groups. What might be important to you on here is, let's just pick a merge group. So there's one right now, merge group C code is chosen, but D is not. If I click on it and if I click save, and I'll close out of a filter builder, I pull it. Let me just change the template to Style Master Reference. So as you could see, merge group C code and D code are available now, and they were not available before. Okay, so I'll go into details as how you could build filters later, probably with you, David, because typically we don't recommend that every user creates their own filter templates. It's typically a job of system admins, gatekeepers, and so forth. I just wanted to make sure this option is there for you, and you could customize these things. A couple of other things I just want to make sure you guys know about. If you look in the filter, for example, or anywhere in Infinity where, when there is a field of data and you have this little glasses, basically what we call this record is zoomable. And what zoomable means is basically you could right click on it and, you could pull whatever data is in that particular field. So for example, if I click on component tab, I don't know if I'm going to find any records. Oh, there's one. Okay. But like I said, right now you don't have that many. But for example, season. If I right click on season, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 records for season. You could also click F2 key. So F2 key will do exactly the same thing. It'll bring up all your records, and then you could pull. You could choose that record and filter to that particular record only. Okay, and that's called a zoom option. So that's it about navigation. At this point, do you guys have any questions or comments? If not, I could move on to the Style Master.
I'm good. Rose, any problems? Any questions?
No, so far so good. Thank you.
Okay. If I'm going too fast, by the way, guys, just let me know, because sometimes I know it could, when you have like a brand new system, it could become overwhelming, and I want to make sure you're able to catch up to me, and you could stop me and tell me, hey, can you clear this out for me? I don't understand. So I have no problem with that. Okay.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay.
Very good. All right. Molly, any comments on your side?
No, I'm good.
Very good. Okay. All right. Let's see. So now let's talk about Style Master here. Now, Style Master, it's basically your a database of every single style that you have in Infinity. Now, we all know that you guys also purchased a PLM module, and Molly's I know she's been working with some of your production team, setting up the PLM already, from what I know. Also, there's an understanding that Style Masters will be originally created in PLM system first, and then out of PLM system, they will be promoted into Style Masters. However, I think it's important for everyone to understand what exactly Style Master is, how it works, what fields it has, what prerequisite underlying tables are part of the Style Master, and also I'm not quite sure. Obviously you already have existing Style Masters, so these ones are probably going to be either entered or loaded into Blue Cherry directly bypassing the PLM. So this is, I think, a call that you guys are going to have to make, or David. I'm not 100% sure, but that's why I think it's important to know what exactly needs to be set up before you begin setting up a Style Master, okay? So I'll open up my training screen environment and I'll begin. And so David, you also have a list of tables that we need to work on today in Excel sheet. And if you want to start also setting up the ownership on this for these tables, let me know, and we could do that as well, okay? So first and foremost, what we need to set up when we start setting up Style Master is a table called dimensions. So what I will do is I will click on F9 button here, which is basically a search button. And I will start searching for dimensions. So if I type dimension, oops, it'll pop up. There's a dimension reference. Okay. As you could see, it's a standard Infinity interface with a filter. If I click apply, I'll see what dimensions we already have. So in my case, we already have dimensions 52, 63, 70, 84, and so forth, so forth, so forth. So now, think about dimensions, right? So this is something that I think we will need to talk later. I think Molly is still working on this, trying to understand how sizes are going to be created for Elreen. However, and there's different concepts on how we could, and different ideas on how we could set up the styles. But just to give you an idea, what I want to do is I want to open up a tab in my browser, and I want to go into your website. And on the website, I could open up, for example, a napkin screen. Okay, give me 1 second. Because one of the products I'm going to be setting up today with you is going to be a napkin. So I'm going to open this one up here. So as you can see, okay, that one is not a good example because it doesn't have any sizes on it. Let me go back to this one. Not sure. Okay, don't see sizes on this. Could have sworn I saw the colors. Okay, maybe it's not a good example. Let me try to go into Windows curtains. Let's see. Does this have sizes? I think it should. There you go. 52 by 84. Okay. So so you have basically two different dimensions on the size. You have a length and a width. So depending on how we want to set this up, is you can have your size as 52 x 84, or you could have, for example, length 52 and width 54, where 84, where 84 is going to be a dimension. So I'm going to explain you how everything gets set up in Infinity, so you do have a good understanding of what options you have, and based on our knowledge of those options and your knowledge of the business and current sizes that you have, we could talk about how your sizes are going to be created in Blue Cherry. So let me go back into this. As you can see, some dimensions already have been set up here, 52, 63, 70, 84, and so forth. However, I did see sizes for napkins, because today I'm going to be working with a napkin, and I did see that some of your napkins could be 17 by 17, 18 by 18, 20 by 20, and 21 by 21. So I don't know where I've seen this, but I think it's right there. So if you guys know your product, you could correct me, but this is what I'm going to be working on today with napkins 17 by 17, 18 by 18, 20 by 20, and 21 by 21. So I'll start with setting up dimensions. And basically what you do, okay, so you're in dimension reference. Let me just undo this for a second. So I click show filter. So those are existing records you have, right? So you could open up a record by clicking on this and you could see what that record represents. Or you could, on the ribbon, you have all these options, new, copy, save, undo, and delete. So I can click new, and I could set up a dimension right now. So I'm going to do a dimension 17, and I could click tab, and I could click on dimension, and I could just give it a description of 17. One thing to remember, sometimes you're going to be working on a record, and you don't know, because this one is very simple. It only has 2 fields of data, and I think they're pretty self-explanatory. You have a dimension code, and then you have a description for a code. However, many times you're going to be presented with a screen that has a ton of options, and it might get you confused. So you can always hover your mouse over description, and or here, and sometimes in the left-hand bottom corner, there is a help text that comes up. So in this case, when I move over my mouse to description, in the left hand it says dimension name. So that's where the dimension name is going to be. If I move this mouse over here, it says dimension. These are pretty self-explanatory fields, but sometimes you get into more complicated things, and you're going to look at them, and you're going to be like, what are those things? And sometimes help menu does help you as well with that. So as I created this record, DMPAC 17, and I gave it a description 17, I am going to save this. At this point, I want to create also 18, 20, 21. I have option, I could click new, or I could click copy. Sometimes copy helps. In this case, because I'm changing every single record here, I think it doesn't make a difference if I click copy or new, but I'm hoping I will come through an example where a copy could be a beneficial record for you. So I'm going to click new again. I'm going to type 18 here, tab on 18, and save. New one more time, 19 and 19, save. New 20, 20, save. And new 21 and 21, save. So if I click show filter again, as you could see, I'm now presented with a larger choice of different dimensions. So in my case, there are 17. Again, my descriptions, I could put more into description. Instead of 17, I could type 17-inch or 17-inch length or width. I'm not sure exactly what the dimension is going to be, but you could do that. And if you click show filter, as you could see, now it changes. I'll keep this for now 17 by 17. I won't do that. Okay. So this is the first thing you're going to do when you set up a style master. You're going to set up dimensions. Now, typically what happens is these are prerequisites to a style master, and many times they don't change often. So sizes, dimensions, things like this, they normally are preset and rarely will get updated. There's always a possibility it might get updated, but normally, once they're set, you're just going to use an existing library of your sizes and dimensions going forward. So I'm just talking about this right now because we're in initial stages of Blue Cherry setup. But going forward, once you up and running, all these dimensions and sizes are going to be available to you to be setting up your style masters. Okay. All right. So
Maxim,
yeah.
do you create a separate dimension for length and width. So would we be doing 17 length and then also a 17 width, or 17 when 17 height, or just 17 you could use for all the size?
So for a product that has two dimensions, for example, you have a length and a width. So we would normally recommend to use a size code for, let's say, a length and a dimension for a width. So that's what dimension is used for. It's a second dimension, always size. But I will, and by the way, I didn't recognize the voice. Is that Brian or Craig?
It's Brian.
Brian, hi. So when we get into a size code setup, I will show you two ways of setting up your size codes. I will talk about more dimensions because I think it's going to be easier to see once you're in the size code reference field, okay?
Yeah, okay, because I'm having trouble understanding in the Blue Cherry world how dimension relates to size and which one is the primary descriptor, or where you start in creating a style.
Sure.
Is it size or dimension? So I guess as you go, it'll be clearer to me. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, I think it'll
Just
get better.
one interruption. Brian, Molly had crafted a email Friday. We were going to talk about that. I sent you that this weekend. We can talk about it later today. We're gonna schedule a call with her this week. It's going to help explain that a little bit.
Thanks.
All right. So that's about dimensions. So we're done with that, and I'm going to close out this tab. So the next thing we need to do is set up a size range. Size ranges are extremely important in Blue Cherry. You cannot enter any styles, any item level information until size ranges are set up. And that's what's important to talk. And I think Molly's going to do a great job here because you kind of need to strike this balance between your ease of entry and reporting, because depending on how your sizes are set up, your ease of entry could become more or less complicated. So let me, without further ado, let me jump into search screen again. And instead of dimension here, I could delete that, and I could start typing size. Okay, size ranges. So this is the screen where size ranges or size codes are set up. If I click on it, it'll pop up. If I click apply, okay, there's a couple of sizes here. I'm not going to use this. I am going to create my own. Therefore, I'm going to click on new record. And so let's talk about now, as you can see, this is a busier screen. So let's talk about all these fields here. First, a record is division. So division is important. All size ranges are division specific. So you would have to create size ranges for all your divisions. I'm not 100% sure if you're going to be using 2 at this point or 1, but right now you currently have a division 01, which is your finished goods division. So you could type 01, or as you could see, there are glasses. I could just hit F2 and it'll prompt me to pick up a division here. So right now you have a 1 divisional record, which is Josie Accessory Alrine. I could just double click that and it's going to get chosen. Size code. So size code, it's a code that you're going to give to all your size ranges. You're limited here to 3 alphanumeric characters. So I will, and we could decide how you're going to name your size ranges. Some people use numbers and code, size code 001, 002, 003, and so forth. For simplicity use, because we're working with napkins today, I'll create a size code called NAP. Okay. So let's talk about this now. So the next field here is size code description, and in description you could put anything you want here. I could put napkins from 17x17 through 21 X21. Oh, that's it. I don't have any more room to type. So let me just do this. Okay. And that's your size code description, just to easier understand what that size code is. And then you have, these two check boxes. One is allow dimension and active. So obviously, you in order for you to use this size code, it has to be active. And by default, it's checked as active. And it's asking if you want to allow dimension for a style. So it's always checked as active as well as allow. Again, depending on how you're going to use this, you may or may not have dimensions, but I always recommend to keep this checked, just in case we want to add dimensions later. It doesn't hurt you to have one checked. And this is where you get into your size headings. Okay, size headings is basically your size names. As you can see, there are a total of 24 size buckets on the size range. So basically, every size range cannot exceed 24 size buckets. So what we normally do in Infinity, in Blue Cherry, we always allocate first size bucket for a pre-pack code. So we always type PPK here, and this is just a placeholder for pre-pack, if in case we need to use this for a style. So we never put a style in the first size description, a size code in the first size description. Okay, and then we'll continue with the rest of the sizes. So, and this is where I will show you different ways of setting up your size code. So for example, just let's say for napkins, so we have napkins 17 by 17. So what I could do here, I could take the size description out to you. Let me I hope I do have enough. Yep. So as you could see, for size description 02, I could simply type 17 by 17 and be done with it. So for size description 03, I could do 18 by 18, 19 by 19, 20 by 20, and 21 by 21. Okay, and those are our size headers. And this is how you're going to see them on the reports, and this is how you're going to see them in your screens, order screens, production order screens, and so forth. Okay. So those are your size headings, and then we need one detail record. Okay. Detail records here are used for NRF sizes. Even if you don't have dimensions, you still have to have at least one detail record. So I'm going to click New on the detail record. So this is sequence number 1. And again, those are your sizes here, size 1, size 2, all the way up to size 24. And in here is where you could have a dimension pack, but we won't do this for this particular size range. I am just going to save this right now, and your size range is done. So you have a size range called NAP that basically consists of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sizes and one pre-pack size. Okay. And that's as simple as that. You have a size code, a size range. So let's now talk about the dimensions. So dimensions are going to be slightly different. What I can do here is I could click New, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to go into division. I'm going to type 01. I'm going to do a size code. So we used code NAP. So how about I use a code NA1, or maybe NP1 is better. Okay, and I will give it a description: napkins with dimensions 17 through 21. Okay, and I'll start exactly in the same way. For size description, I'll put PPK. For size description 1, this is just a placeholder for a pre-pack. And I'll continue with size description 02. Now, as you remember before, we typed 17 by 17. In here, I'll do a size 17. I'll do a size 18, 19, 20, and 21. Okay. So those are my sizes now. All right. And I'm going to do new on detail record. And this is where I'm going to start choosing prepacks. So in my case, for a DIM pack, which is basically a combination of either dimension or pack, I could choose 17. Okay. So basically what you're doing is you creating a two-dimensional record. And, you know, in this case, what normally happens is, you know, you're basically creating a size range with all this possible. And so now this becomes your choice to choose what sizes you need here for this particular setup, because typically it'll result in creating a size 17 by where it says size description 02, you would, and a dimension 17, you'd have a 17 by 17. And then in this case, you would have 18 by 17, 19 by 17, 20 by 17, and 21 by 17. So I don't know if these sizes are actually available for napkins. I think they're all rectangular, but you know, obviously you know your business better. But let's say, you know, they could only exist as 17 by 17, 18 by 18, 19 by 19, 20 by 20, and 21 by 21. So what I would do in this case, I would go into sizes allowed for this particular dimension, and I'm going to say that the only way for this dimension to exist is only for size 17, and I'm going to unclick sizes 18, 19, 20, and 21. Okay, so by doing this, I'm basically telling the system that the only possible combination of size and dimension is 17 by 17. Okay, I'm going to create a second dimension record now, and I'm going to pick 18. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing exactly here. I'm going to click sizes allowed, and I'm going to say this record could only exist 18 by 18. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing here, and I'm going to type 19, sizes allowed. I'm going to unclick 17, 18, 20, and 21, and I'm going to say this is how this can exist. 20, sizes allowed, and I am telling the system that 20 by 20 is the only way for this to exist, and 21 is the last thing, sizes allowed, and I'm unclicking these options here, and we have basically your sizes as set up as 21 by 21 on this, 20 by 20 on this, 19 by 19 on this, 18 by 18, and 17 by 17. All right, and let's talk about NRF sizes here also. All right, you guys use a catalog, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's a QRS catalog, and you know, I'm more familiar with GXS catalog, but I know that every time you push data out into a catalog, they also require for you to push out what's called an NRF size. NRF size is basically a code that belongs to a size. They're standard codes assigned by NRF, which is National Retail Federation. So in my case, I would, for example, let's just look at this record 17, dimension 17. I would click on NRF size, and you know, on a combination of size 17 and pre-pack 17, for example. Well, I don't know what the NRF code would be. You guys probably know this better, but I'm just going to type something like this, 60,001, right? And I would click OK. Okay. Invalid NRF code. I think it needs, let me just see. Yeah, it needed a code for pre-pack because pre-pack is activated. Okay, so as you could see, I set up an NRF code for size 17, dimension 17. I'm going to do the same thing here. NRF sizes, something for pre-pack. Okay. NRF sizes. And this is 19. $20. And 21. Okay, and this is my size setup with dimensions. So, Brian, if you're still on the phone, does this help you to understand how sizes and dimensions work together?
It does. I'm just trying to understand, why did you do it the first way, creating the size code NAP, and then do this? Because it seems like duplicate.
Oh, I just wanted to show you how you could set up, because I think, and here maybe Molly could chime in slightly, because she knows your product better than I do, and she also, I think she already did some investigative work on your size ranges. So I think this napkin size setup is very simple, so you don't have that many choices. But I think when you go into like your tablecloth business, or maybe window curtains, you have a huge number of variations, and creating size ranges for this, it might be complicated if you just do a one-dimensional setup. So in my case, I just wanted to show you how you could set up a one-dimension versus two-dimension setup, just so you could see what the difference is. Usually it's easier to use one dimension only, because when you enter data, again, everything is you don't have to pick up dimensions.
We got this part. We're actually going to do a deep dive with Molly on this. So let's go through this.
Great.
Yep. So I just wanted to make sure you understand there's different possibilities that are present to you, and available to you, and but once you start working on this, I think, like I said, like David said, you're going to do a deep dive with Molly and see what exactly is going to work for your business. Okay. Again, it's important is to strike balance between this ease of report entry and reporting. So, all right. So we talked about dimensions. We talked about size ranges. The next thing we're going to do, in order for you to set up a style master, the next thing on the list is your seasons. So again, I'm going back into search, and I'm going into seasons, and I'm going to go into a season record here. And if I hit apply, well, there are some seasons here already. Let me do this, because we already have one season. Let me see if I could delete this, because I want to show you entry from the beginning. I cannot, because it's already been used for something. Okay. Can I delete fall 19? Yes, I can. Very good. Yeah, so it looks like I think Molly has already used spring 19 record somewhere. So if I clicked on delete, as you could see, the message popped up, you're about to delete this record. I click OK, and it says data cannot be deleted. So once records for particular underlying tables exist elsewhere, and they've been assigned to a style or a design record or something else, at this point you cannot delete them anymore. You could only inactivate them. All right, so what I could do is let me go into season now. So it's important to understand that first of all, season is actually a non-required field for Style Master. Unlike sales order entry and purchase order entry, those entry screens do require seasons. Okay, for Style Master, it's not required. So typically, the way we explain season on the Style Master, this is an originating season for a style, the season when style originates. So I'm going to click New Record here, and again, seasons are division specific. So again, I would either click F2 here, or if I know my division by, the top of my head, I could just type 01. It's up to you. And I would click tab. And now it's asking me for a season. So basically, this is a season code. And you have up to five alphanumeric characters to enter here. So I believe I deleted a season called FAL19, which is basically an abbreviation for fall 19. I click tab, then you have a season name. So I would type a complete name, fall 2019. I would click tab. Then it gets to a booking start date. So that's important to remember. The booking start date and the booking end date, those are dates when you could start entering your orders. So if you are creating a season for fall 2019, and let's say the first day of the season is 09/01/2019, and the last day of the season is November 30, 2019, you could only enter orders within those dates. So that's just important to understand and remember. GL codes, you could assign GL codes to seasons. I don't think you guys are doing this right now, and I don't think there's a plan to do this right now. Book percent over limit, basically what this represents is if you and by the way, I think this is what it's helpful to look at the help menu, because if you hover your mouse over, you'll see that the help text in the bottom, it says booking value cannot exceed production by this percent, and that's basically where you could set up the limits. And if you have production of 1,000 units in this season, you cannot exceed production by you cannot exceed sales or entry by that particular percentage. You cannot overbook. Active by default is actually set to no, so I'm going to click to check yes to activate this. Then you do have parent season and season types. So I'm not quite sure if there's what season types would be. In this case, we could probably set them up for reporting purposes, but I don't believe there's any benefit to that. I haven't come across any customer that's using season types. Maybe Molly knows, but I don't know. Then you have an additional header here, and under here you have shipping defaults of start date and end date. That also may be important, because you could basically say the order cannot be shipped outside of a starting date and ending date. So that's, once you start thinking about your seasons, you could decide, I'm not shipping any orders, if you're outside of your season. And then you do have validation rules. Those may or may not be important to you, where it says validate style season. It's basically, as I said before, on the style master record, season itself is a non-required field. It is optional. However, if you do enter it, you can then validate by clicking this option. You could say, hey, if my style season is fall 2019, but I'm entering the sales order for spring 2019 season, then the order is going to throw out an error and say the seasons don't match. So it's, then we could validate and make sure that fall 2019 styles don't get entered on the spring 19 sales order. So those are the options you have. Again, those are all optional. They're not required fields. The only required fields here is a division, season code, season name, and the booking start date and the booking end date. Everything else is optional. And again, we could explore them as we start working with your business closer. But as of right now, I'll just I'll keep the entry as such, and I'll click save. All right, and we have a season right now. If we go show filter again, and fall 19 is appearing right here. Okay. All right, so that's on seasons. The next screen you would maintain would be content of a style, and I would search in the search box for content. We have style content open up. Let's see what we have currently in the system. We have, looks like 2 records, 100% polyester and a 90% polyester and 10% cotton. So I would, if you want to create a new content record, they're very simple. You would just do that. You will put a style content code here, which is it's up to 6 alphanumeric characters. Let's see. I just want to, let's see. We have P001. Okay, so I could do let's see, what is this one made from? Let's go back to my napkins. Jump on this one. This one is 100% polyester. Okay, do we have anything else for style content? This is 100% cotton. Okay, so very good. So I'll create a record for 100% cotton. So I'll click New, Style Content. So if I keep the same, okay, let's 4-digit codes. No, actually looks like, yeah, 5-digit codes. I'm going to click New. I'm going to call C0001. And I could type 100% cotton here. Okay, so again, you have a size code, or you have a content code and the content description. Again, we recommend there's only one person that creates this records, because if you have multiple people creating these records, you know, it's very easy to start creating, you know, same exact 100% cotton records with multiple codes. You could have somebody create style content C001, another person comes in, creates C002 and gives it exactly the same name, and then, you know, little did you know, you have a mess of different content. So typically we do recommend that one person enters this records and maintain like a library of them. But I did create this cotton record, and it's here. And that's basically it on the style content. The next thing after the style content is created, I would start creating HS numbers. Okay. So again, I'll go into a search record. I'll start typing HS, and you have HS number groups. If I click apply, there's one record here right now for dress cotton knit. I guess this is like a test record that we had in the past, you know, when QA was testing the system, but I'll create one for you right now. So we're going to click New, and so let's talk about this. First of all, you have an HS number. So I don't know what your HS numbers are, guys. Actually, let me see if I could. So this one is already here. I could just copy create a new one with a similar number. Okay. So I don't know what your HS numbers are right now, but I'll just create one fake.
Hey, Maxim, I'm putting answers in the chat for you.
Oh, you are? Okay. Give me 1 second.
I don't know if anybody's checking the chat as we talk, but I thought that'd be easy.
Actually, how do you go? Where is the chat here? I see. Oh, here's a chat option. Okay, there you go. You have one. Very good. So let's do 3924901050. Very good. That's your HS number. The next thing we would put in a country of origin. Country of origin, by the way, all countries are already pre-populated in Blue Cherry, so you don't have to create any countries. So I would type F2. Do you know what, Brian, by chance, what country of origin it is?
China.
China, okay. So I would just search for C here and pick up China, okay. Description. So I don't know what this is, but let me just type napkin 100% cotton. Is that okay if I use that?
Sure.
So that's the description. It could be wrong. Those
Yeah.
are just that's just a
Yeah.
test data, but
I know.
okay. Again, I'm sure you have now. Just an FYI, by the way, and David, it might be beneficial for you to know. We do have NHS load program in the system, so we can theoretically load all your HS numbers using the load. However, in my practice, and when I worked with different customers across the fashion spectrum, we know that normally each customer works with small number of those records, maybe 20, from 20 to 40, something like that. I don't know if you guys have more and if it's beneficial for you to do a load, but normally it's a very limited number and they could be entered manually. So it's just a decision you have to make how you're going to get them in the system. Okay. So let's talk about this now. So we spoke about country of origin, China. And then you have this field here: duty amount, duty weight, and duty percent. And this is how you can set up your duty calculations on the cost sheet. You could do an amount by piece, or you could do duty by weight, or you could do duty by percent. So I think for the most part, majority of people is using percentage. So I don't know what that HS code is, but I'm going to enter, let's say, 16% here, and that's going to be our percentage. Okay. Then we talk about units of measurements. That's only applicable if you use do the amount by pieces, for example, because some people do that, but it's not applicable to you. You're doing percentage. You could do a fixed dollar duty, but again, that's probably not going to be your example. And then you do have quota. So quota, it's something where sometimes you guys could be tracking. As an example, some people put quota silk versus cashmere and things like this. This is just for reporting purposes only. Sometimes people would have to have quota on customs invoices, so then we could get that data out of HS code and print it out on your customs invoice. I'm not sure if you guys do use quota or not, but this is where it would be as well. And then you do so header level is enough to create the HS code. As a matter of fact, some people don't even put any of that percentage calculations here. You can, but you don't need to. Normally the HS code and the description is perfectly enough. Some people do want to automatically calculate duty, especially because you could have import duty and you could also have export duty. And when you move when you move your goods, let's say from overseas, from China directly to a customer, then your sales orders will need to have duty calculations as well. Some people want to report on that, and so in this case, you can have, especially if you send in goods to a different country, not the United States. So you could have detailed records. If you click here, you could say, for example, that my HS number is going to be different if I'm sending from China to, let's say, Canada or any other country. So then you could you could set up different duty calculations here. So it won't be 16%, but maybe it's going to be a 15% and so forth. But normally, and I don't think it's going to happen in your business, because I think from what I know, you're only shipping direct from those countries to United States, either port of entry or a warehouse, or directly to customer who is in the United States, right? You don't do any international shipping. So I don't think these records are going to be needed, but if you do need them, they're here for you. Okay. So we're going to save this record here. Click on save, and we do have an HS number populated for you here. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about next tables. And and if I click filter, now we have two records here. now let's talk about merge groups, right? So let me close HS numbers. Let me close style content. So now let's talk about merge groups. So I'm pretty sure you guys are already very familiar with what they are. I know you've heard many times from Molly. We have 13 merge groups in Blue Cherry. It's an extremely powerful tool, and many people use it extensively. Used normally to categorize merchandise for reporting purposes. Because you could have this merge groups, across every single screen report, inquiry, filter in Blue Cherry, and creating this categories it normally is very beneficial to a business to simplify use of reports, to see how your particular products are doing and so forth. So to set up the merge groups, first you need to set up the merge group types. So I am going to search again, and I'm going to go into merge group, merchandise group types, and I click apply. So the merge group types are already preset in Blue Cherry for you. Again, they are from A to M, and that's exactly 13 different codes. So each one of them, the only thing you could do with them is basically rename them. Because as you can see this year, MG13, it hasn't been renamed so far. It's called MG13. But looks like A, B, C, and G have been renamed already. So let me jump into A, and it's the first merge group. So quickly, things like group type is A. It's going to remain A. This is default value. This is how Blue Cherry has this. Type name is basically, it's, as you can see, this is grayed out. You cannot make any changes to this. However, on the group code, you can rename this differently. So I think Molly set this up as a product category. But just as an example, I could type something else. For example, I could call it, instead of product category, I could call it category. Just change the name of it. Once I click tab, as you could see, the type name immediately changed to category. And this is what's unique about this record. If you remember in the beginning of the session, I was talking about how you could, there's a thing called language reference in Blue Cherry where you could rename literally every single thing on Blue Cherry screens. So what's unique about this merge group records is once you change the name of it, it automatically makes a record change to language reference. So this is how it will be presented on all your screens and reports and inquiries and so forth. So let me just, I'm going to change this back to product category. So we keep consistency with Molly entry. One thing to know here, there's a button that says required. And you could, if you set that to yes, this merge group will be a required field for style master entry. So you wouldn't be able to save your style master without this category filled in. So I'm not 100% sure if it also connects to a design master, and if it becomes a required record for design master as well, but it will definitely be a required record for style master. So if it's not a required record for design master, then probably when you do promote your design into a style, then you would have to populate that on promotion. But on style master, it's a required record. Long text description. This is basically how this record will, how this merge group will appear in your help prompt in Blue Cherry in the left-hand bottom corner. So that's where long text is used. So you could call it differently from your merge group code. Just to simplify an entry, you could say, for example, something like enter product category such as, and just give a couple of examples, for people so that when they work, they know exactly what that product category is. But I'm sure you figure out ways to simplify this for your people. So that's on group type reference. So this is the first thing you do for merge groups. You create this. Rather not create because you already have 13, but you rename them and say, hey, this, the first one is going to be a category, the second one is going to be config, the third one is going to be product style. It looks like G is going to be occasion, and so on. I think, again, probably David and Molly will take a deeper dive into this and create merge groups specifically that are going to be applicable to your styles. Couple of things is also merge groups categories. Could be, for example, as an example, you could have two divisions. You have a finished good division and raw materials division. So these categories might not be applicable across your divisions. So there's a way to say, okay, my category A through F are going to be for my finished goods division, and from G to M is going to be for my raw material division. So, if it comes to this, we could also separate this and break them down. I don't know if it's going to be a need for that, but it can be done. There's that flexibility. Okay. All right. So let's see now. Now let's talk about. So we talk about merge group types. Let's talk about merge groups. Merge groups. Let's click apply. It looks like we have something set up. So let's see. Brian, if you're here on the phone still, what would napkin be a product type in your case if you set up napkins for let's say we have a product category, or maybe Molly could tell me that.
It would fall under tabletop.
Correct.
So napkin would be a tabletop category. Very good. Okay. So let me see. I guess then, since we already have this category, I'm not going to be changing this, but I just want to show you.
I mean, we don't have to be exact right now, but we wouldn't use tabletop. We would use table linens, because for us, tabletop, if we launched, which we are going to eventually do, melamine dinnerware, we would put that under tabletop, because that would be separate from textiles. So
okay.
If you want to create table linens, that's fine.
Yeah, let's do that. So it's a good idea to create one right now. So I am going to click new. Again, as I mentioned before, merge groups are so categories are not division specific. The types are not division specific, but you can technically say I want to use my merge groups A through M for that division, and so forth. But the actual merge groups are division specific. So if your raw material division has different categories, they will not appear when you do entry in your style master and your finished good division and so forth. That's why division is important. So I'm creating one for divisional one. This is where you pick the type. So the type, in my case, I would click F2 and I would say, hey, this is my product category. And I have to give it a code. So the code, you could replicate the name, or you could assign numbers. So Brian, you said it was table linen, right?
Yes.
Let's see if I could. So I think we are limited here to 9 characters on the merge group code. So maybe I'll do something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would give it a name, table linen. Okay. Some people do assign GL codes to their merge groups. I don't think you guys are going to be doing that. Again, we have to, by default, it's not active, so we are going to be activating this now. It could be deactivated at any time. Sometimes across, as you do some entering Blue Cherry, you're going to see something like VS, inactive in VS, and this is something that we call virtual showroom. So it's not applicable to you. So just keep it as default. Do not do anything about this virtual showroom. NMFC code. So NMFC code is basically it's used for I believe for bill of ladings. This is a national motor freight code. So if these codes are different, I think most
Is that
companies
the 77.5?
I think that's the one. Yeah. I think all companies have only one code, so I don't think it's going to be important for you. But depending on what products you ship, your codes can change, and therefore sometimes people assign different NMFC codes to your merge groups so that system could automatically resolve and say, hey, if you're shipping napkins, your NMFC code is such and such. If you're shipping, if you're shipping window curtains, your NMFC code changes. But normally, I haven't come across many companies that use multiple NMFC codes. For the most part, there's only one. So if in your case it's one, then we don't need to worry about that. Okay. Now, so there's a few things here also. As you can see, there's a child type, child code. So this is where you could set up, hierarchy of merge groups. I don't think you're going to have any hierarchy here unless Molly could correct me. So I'm not going to go into details on that. But that's basically it. So if I do click save here, we have a merge group right now. So merge group is set up. Okay. So I'll close this. We have a table in the merge group. Let's keep going. So the next step on the list is your color. Color is the next. And as a matter of fact, I think this is the last thing we're going to need to create a style master. So let me go into search, and I'm going to search for color. And I'm going to pick this field called style color. Let's see what we have now. If I click apply, we have a bunch. Okay, so I am going to click new. Let's see what is it that I don't have here. I have black, blue, brown, green, red, white, and yellow. And this one comes in what colors? Gray and indigo. Very good. I don't think I had any gray here, right? Very good. So I'll create a gray color. So I'm going to click new. So you have color code here first. So the color code is it's a field that has 5 alphanumeric characters. So it's up to you how you could call it and define it. Some people use codes, they could call it 001, 002, 003. Some people do like abbreviations. For example, for black, they would type something like BLK, or you could do a full black. So you could do fashion colors, for example. So instead of black, you could type something like ebony and so forth. So it depends on you and how you're going to create the style colors. Also, if you do have an existing style color library, David, it's good for you to know we do have a color load. So if you decide that you don't want to create colors manually, we can then go ahead and load this colors from Navision system into Blue Cherry. Okay. So I will go ahead and create gray. Since we've been using this abbreviations here across, I'll just go ahead and do GRY for gray. So I'll give it a name. I'll call it gray. So color group codes. So group codes, again, used typically for classifications. Normally that would be like your reds, your blues, your whites, and so forth. I don't know if there's any. Looks like there's no color group codes right now, so I'll leave that blank, and we won't create one. NRF color code. So that's kind of important field again for 832 transmissions into your catalog, whether it's QRS or GXS. You would need to create an NRF code for that. Just one thing is Blue Cherry does not validate your NRF code, so whatever code you enter here is what is what's going to happen. One thing you could do for Style Master, when you create Style Master, you could require for color to have an NRF code. So if you think that you're going to need NRF codes for every single style in your system, you could turn this feature on. It's disabled by default. And then you could say, okay, I want my style to always have an NRF codes. If not, throw out an error. Make sure that the person goes in and puts in an NRF code into a color. So, but I'll put in one right now. I'm not sure what the NRF code for grays, but let me just put 010. You could put a longer description of a color. If it's not just gray, but you could describe it. Fashion. Do give it like a fashion description. I'll just type gray again. It's not super important what it is right now, but and then you have a print number. So if you do have prints and things like that, you could put a print number here. Okay. So I have a color gray created. All right. So and that's basically all the prerequisites that you need for a Style Master to exist in the system. Okay, so just to go back and see what we covered so far. We talked about dimensions. We talked about size ranges, and with dimensions and size range, we talked about two-dimensional size range and single-dimensional size ranges. We talked about seasons. We talked about content of a style, HS numbers, merge group types and codes, and then we talked about colors. So these tables are mandatory to have for your styles to be set up. And we basically did our homework. We prepared now, so we could jump into Style Master creation at this point. Okay. So I will go ahead and start typing Style Master. Now, so a couple of things here I want to show you. So as you can see, when I type Style Master, right, first of all, you're present with 4 different options here, and you're going to say, hey, which one is the one that I need, because I have something that looks like a window and something that looks like a gear. And so it's important also to understand in Blue Cherry, everything where you do data entry or a screen, we call it a screen, it does look like a small window here. And everything that's a process, and process is basically a piece of code that runs and executes something, that does something in Blue Cherry, would have a green gear icon to it. So for example, we were talking about loads. So Style Master does have a load as well. So they can be created manually, or they could be loaded through a process. So in this case, we do have a Style Master load for that. And Blue Cherry has a ton of different processes. Style loads. It has EDI processes, for example, 850 process, 860 process, 832 process. It has allocation processes and so forth. So it's important to understand the process. It's something that runs and executes. And then screen, it's something where you do data entry, or you could filter your records and just search your records and see and have this records presented to you on screen. Okay. Now, then you could probably ask me, then what is a what's different between a Style Master and a Style Master Standard, right? So Style Master Standard is something that basically was created with every single option that Style Master can have. And we're talking about all checkboxes, all fields, all additional information tabs. All of that stuff is basically going to be present in the Style Master standard. And this is a screen you cannot actually delete from your system. So all standard screens are going to be in the system and they're going to be present there, and you cannot do anything with them. You cannot make changes to them. It's basically like a default reset of a Style Master or anything else. Every single screen in Blue Cherry will have a standard as well. So just as an example, if I type open order maintenance, it has an open order and it has open order maintenance standard. So standard screen will have every single option that's available to you. Okay. So as you can see, if I click on the Style Master Standard, if I click New, you have a ton of options here, right? You have all this header records, and then you have your workflow records, and then you have your additional header records, and each one of them could open up into, a ton of different fields. And then you do have, images tab, and, so you have a lot, right? And typically, once we, start working with the business and we review that process and we try to understand what it is that they use and so forth, we do end up creating a simpler record that only has fields that this particular business needs, so that it's simplified for you. And then we could proceed with modifying the screen, which is very simple, by the way. There's a tool called Screen Builder for this, and you could make changes to your screens in any way possible. And once you do your CRP, conference room pilot, is where we normally try to present you with a screen that we think is going to work for your business. And then it's going to be, tested by you and validated through user acceptance testing. And those are the screens you're normally going to be working with. So not really standard screens, but screens that are specifically customized for you. So just to give you an example, I went into your test data set, and if I start doing the Style Master typing here, there's something that's called Alreen Style Master, right? So I basically created a screen for a Style Master, and I gave it a name Alreen, so it's we know it's specifically yours for you to use. And also sometimes people do create screens by department. So for example, your production department could be looking at certain things in the Style Master, your logistics department could be looking at something else. So you can also create screens for different departments. It can get overwhelming and confusing if you create too many. So we normally don't recommend creating more than one or two screens, okay? But as an example, if I click on Alreen Style Master, and if I click New, this screen becomes, I think, smaller. It doesn't have as much data as this other screen, but then again, it could be further simplified, depending on what screens and what fields you need on the screens, okay? But for training purposes, I'm going to go through your standard screen to cover, most of the options on it, so what they are, what they do. And at that point, you can decide whether or not you need those options on your customized screen. Okay, so we normally don't customize screens like content code, because it only has 2 records in there. We don't customize, and because you barely touch this record, so we typically customize screens that are used on a daily basis. Because Style Master, you're going to be probably looking at every day numerous times. You're going to be entering data nonstop on Style Master and Design Master. So these screens are usually subject to customization to make sure they fit perfectly into your business process. They're easy to use. They present information as it's needed by business. So it jumps right into their eyes, and they don't have to spend time looking for that particular information on the screen record. Okay. All right, so let's see. Let's talk about Style Master now. As I said, this is right now standard screen, has everything on it. So styles are again division specific. So if you have styles that are created in your, let's say, finished goods division, then they're not going to be available to your raw material division. But again, it depends. Some people break down divisions by product. If they have to report separately, and do different other things. I think in your case, we're only going to be using one division, and this is division 01, as I said. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this division right now.
While we're doing this, Maxim, we're going to break at 10:50 for a 10-minute break before our steering committee, okay?
Yeah, sure. That's fine. Just one second. What is this here? Oh, Molly, did you turn on generation for style by chance? Oh, yeah. Looks like auto generate style number is turned on. So let me. So I'm gonna turn this off for the time being. Let's try it again. All right, there you go. Okay. All right, so I am going to create a style for you. David, send me a style code. Again, later on we could talk about how style numbers can be auto-generated for you, depending on different things. Number, maybe coupled with a merge group and something else. For the time being, for simplicity purpose, I'm just going to put in one style number here, and that's I get the style number 07588. So this is your style code. I hit tab. By default, the active code will always be set to yes. You could deactivate styles at any time. Now, it's important to understand here, on Style Master, you have all those different flags. You have active flag, then you have style available flag, and then you're also going to have a flag discontinued. So it's important to understand the distinction between these flags here. Basically, if the style is not active, you cannot enter that style in sales or production orders anymore. However, you can pick and invoice those styles. So, for example, if sales order.
I got this recorded. I'll show you this. Put him on mute 1 second. Oh.
Are we breaking, David, or are we still continuing? We have 4 minutes. Okay. So it's important to understand the difference between active, available, and discontinued. Inactive styles cannot be entered in sales or production orders. However, if you have a sales order right now for a style that's been checked as inactive, you could still pick it and invoice style. Okay. So if style has been created and there's already a record for this, like a sales order record, production record, you cannot delete that style anymore. The only thing you could do is deactivate that style. Okay. Okay. So I keep going in division style active. Then I'm being asked for a style name. So style name, it's basically a short style description, normally used in reports and inquiries. So I'm going to call this one napkin noble. Oops, my typing is noble woven. Okay. Then I get jumped into something that's called style available. So style available is basically it's very similar to active flag. It pretty much does the same thing. You cannot enter sales orders or production orders with this, but you can continue, picking and invoicing your open orders. However, the difference between style active and style available is, if you do a zoom, like search for styles, non-active styles, you cannot find them. However, styles that are active but not available, you could still find them, you could still see them, you just cannot enter those styles anymore. Okay, so that's the difference. So typically, when the style gets unchecked as available is when that style gets dropped. Okay, so once you start producing anything for that style is when you go in and basically say we're dropping the style, we're not doing anything with this anymore. Okay. The next thing we're going to enter is a size code. So if I click F2, as you can see, all the size codes are present to me, and I would probably want to show you the difference in entry between this, one-dimensional size code and a two-dimensional size code. But let me begin with two-dimensional size code here, because I think this is what's going to be used in Alvarin anyway, so I'll choose this one. Okay, so size code is a mandatory record to enter for your style. You cannot create a style until size code exists for it. Okay. All right, I hit tab. The next thing that's on the list is a season. As I mentioned, season is not required entry. However, if you are going to be using this, let's pick the season for the style. I'm going to go ahead and pick spring 2019. Let's go to the next tab. Next tab is location. So I think on the session, if I'm not mistaken, tomorrow or Wednesday, we are going to be talking about locations, and I'll explain you in more details what locations are. But just to give you a little heads up, everything in Blue Cherry that is a warehouse or a contractor or a vendor, it's called location. Customer is not a location. Customer is a customer record. However, all your suppliers, all your, warehouses, including 3PL warehouses, virtual warehouses, if you are going to have some, they are going to be locations. So in this case, you can pick a default location for this style. For example, a default warehouse where that style is normally shipped from. In your case, I think you are going to be mostly shipping styles from the same warehouse in California. And when we talk later about allocation process, this record does have implications for allocation. So I normally suggest to leave this blank and not fill this in. It looks like it's 10:51 now, so I think we are going to break. David, is that correct?
Yeah, we're going to break now, guys. This is going to be recorded. It's going to be saved two places. One is on the training folder in the public directory. I'll save you this. The second part's going to be saved to our internal SharePoint. So we'll break now and we'll resume at the 2 o'clock meeting. Thank you. Thanks, Maxim.
Thank you,
Thank you.
David. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Molly.
Bye.
Thank you, Rose. Have a nice day, okay?
You too.
Bye.